from StreamYard, where you make you. It say, I don't know. Can't you share it? There's something you gotta do in StreamYard, don't you? To it say, I don't know.
Quasi, put your presentation back up. Yeah, once you present your presentation again, I could share it on screen. All right, you green light, you good to go. My apologies.
Uh, yeah, I got it pulled up on YouTube. I still don't. It still say waiting for helping our people elevate. So we trying. We got a few technical difficulties. We trying to correct. I'm not sure if y'all can hear me live or not. Um, but bear with us for a few minutes while we get everything panned out, so you all can actually see the presentation while we go through it today.
We good, brother. You on screen. You good. You got the floor.
All right, peace, peace. You all welcome to Tribe Ujima bi-weekly study group. I was reiterating earlier, but I will repeat some of those things if you all missed it. And so the bi-weekly study group
Can you
is
hear
every
yourself?
second.
You echoing. Can you hear yourself echoing?
All right, what about now? Okay,
You
I
good.
see y'all
Go
in
ahead. You
the chat.
good.
Okay, I see. Okay, so we welcome you all. As I was saying, Tribe Ujima is a nonprofit organization, Ujima Tribe, which is a vehicle for community outreach. We started back in 2017 and we evolved into a nonprofit in 2021. And so we have 7 years of community outreach, community development, community event planning, collaboration, and trust building within the community. And we'll continue the efforts of educating, getting proper concepts through the Ujima Study Group and the Moorish Mondays and the Helping Our People Elevate study groups on the second and fourth Thursday. We'll continue to correct our concepts so that we can properly or more effectively contribute to the uplifting of our brothers and sisters classified as Negro, Black, and Colored. So be sure to go to the website, check us out, look at what we're doing. If you all want to duplicate some of the stuff that we're doing, uh, feel free, get with me, and I can assist you with your community outreach organizing. So this is the national campaign. That you see a shirt that I have on, the Declaration on the Rights of the Child, Principle 3. Every child shall be entitled from his or her birth to a name and nationality. We was in Boston. We was in Boston, Massachusetts, couple months ago or so, and we was there on behalf of agriculture, where we collaborate with various different farms, gardens, community gardens, farms, and universities, etc., that push gardening, agriculture, conservation practice, regeneration practice, etc. And so I was campaigning for the national campaign at that event, taking photos with people, making them aware of the Declaration of the Rights of the Child. By them looking at it, having conversations with people about what's the purpose of this shirt, tying in to how do we protect our land politically. If we're growing fruits and vegetables and all this stuff, how do we protect it under the United States colorable venue? How do we ensure protection for the generations to come through the colorable venue of the United States de facto operations? And so we have to have proper concepts in view towards international mediums means in order to make sure that we can protect our investment. We can protect the seed that we're planting. We can protect the controlment of our food for the future generations, for as how it's packaged, how it's regulated, you know, and things of that nature. And so join the national campaign. You can be a part by purchasing a shirt. And you will begin to get more information. There's a petition that you will sign, and as well as doing video content. And like I say, you'll get more information on how you can push the campaign forward. You'll hear a little bit more about that here shortly. And here's the shirt. It is $50. The national campaign, Declaration on the Rights of the Child. It will be mailed to you. It's an additional $10 for it to be mailed to you. So $60 will get you your shirt, and that's how you support the national campaign, by wearing your shirt. And we bring awareness. They start to see the shirt in various different foreign political zones, known as Georgia, etc. But they begin to see the shirt, and we're pushing one agenda. And so that's how you support the national campaign. If Be sure to send the link out to your friends and kinsmen. We will be on every second and fourth Wednesday for those who just came on. Be sure to share the link. This is the International Human Rights Summit. We will be campaigning and pushing the agenda 2025 of next year at the Human Rights Summit, July 10th through the 12th. And so we'll be wearing our shirts. So be sure to go ahead and get your shirt so you have it in time. We can, we'll be organizing our how we're going to present, what we're going to present, and we want to be uniform. And so we want to show the national campaign shirt. So be sure to purchase a shirt to support the national campaign. We'll have more information on this from one of the other brothers that's on the national campaign committee, where we'll hear more about some of the processes and what it takes for us to be on the agenda. And so you'll hear more about that in the future as you come on to the biweekly study groups. As I mentioned in the previous study groups, this is our Care Box program, where we give out fresh fruits and vegetables to the community free of charge. Through this, we build trust. Through this, we shine the light on food sovereignty, and we bring the people in to teach them their nationality, their culture, their heritage, because there's, even in agriculture and growing produce, you find culture. You find the usage of the stars, the usage of the Polaris star, the usage of the dog star Sirius, the usage of Venus, So do you see the usage of your culture being activated and used as a means of structure to be able to govern a society, a civilization of people through your culture, through principles of culture, of course, political legitimacy. I'm just saying our culture being a very important piece. And so agriculture and astronomy, which is part of our culture, and the celebrations which tie us into agriculture are all part of us connecting ourselves back to our original roots, and that's controlling our food. And we, through the Shell Malachi Bay proposal, we bring them in through the agricultural means, but the goal is autonomy. The goal is reversion to sovereignty. The goal is post millennium, and so we have different outreach mechanisms where we to reach the community and bring them in and begin to build with them. And so this is one of our outreach components is the Care Box program. um Donate a tree. We're working on a project where we'll be planting over 100 fruit trees for the future generations. This is not a theory. We have the location set already. um we have already been tending to the land. We've been laying our lime out. We've been getting the land ready. And we're going to be planting over 100 fruit trees for the future generations where they'll have fresh fruits, fresh apples, and of course finance can be generated from this as well. And if you would like to be a part and donate to the fruit tree project, be sure to comment your email under this YouTube, or you can comment your phone number and say fruit tree. We need your help. It's going to be about a $5,000 project. To be able to get all that done. No, 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 no. $100. It'd be about a $10,000 project, and that's with every tree being about $100. Some we can get for cheaper, but we do need your assistance. Where we're able to plant over 100 fruit trees for our people. Here's our Easter/Ishtar event that we do annually, which we have the fifth annual celebration coming up. Well, we just show Easter um, dates back, and we show how it ties to Venus and love and fertility. Um, and agriculture. And so that day is a day that we use to connect with the community. We give out free food. We gave out over 200 plates 2024. So 2025 we want to give out over 300 plates. We have games that we play to engage the community, nationality games that Brother Abdullah Bay and myself came up with. We have other games centered around political legitimacy. We have to bring awareness to international um, means, so that it's more in our face rather than the United States Constitution, the Georgia Constitution. That's the most that we get, and so we want to bring awareness to international law and the concept of nationality within our human rights protection. And so we're having this event. If you would like to be a sponsor, we need 60 sponsors to contribute $50 for this to be a successful event. So we need your help. We're showing the work, and let's duplicate this. So the same model. You don't have to think all this. You can duplicate this in your area. And that's just the recap of the Easter study group session that we have. Is under Kwazi Ujima Tribe Ujima Study Group, and you can go to Helping Our People Elevate. It's posted back in March 25th of 2024. So be sure to go back, watch that presentation to get a better grasp and grip on what Easter is and how it applies to culture. And culture is is definitely what we lack, or what we've that's been held back from us, that's been deemed evil, demonic, satanist, and etc. And so we have to get back to our culture and understand who we are. And so that's the importance of the Easter, Astareth, and Nana celebration. Helping our people elevate is the YouTube channel we're on. Be sure to stop and subscribe right now. Subscribe, send the link out to your friends and kinsmen. Have them to subscribe to the bi-weekly study group. Will be on every second and fourth Wednesday, every second and fourth Thursday. Be sure to subscribe and help our people elevate. Moroccan Post School of Government is also a place you need to subscribe. You'll be getting extensive, detailed information dealing with legal means, political legitimacy, post millennium, reversion to sovereignty, treaty, diplomatic relations, etc. So be sure to grammar, etymology, semantics. And so be sure to go and check out Moroccan Post. Be sure to subscribe and send it out to a friend and family. Um, and that'll be good. And so we'll go ahead and get started, you all. Silent weapons for a quiet war. Tonight, I want us to use the chat. We're doing this a little differently so that we can push it more. More people can listen on. We're on multiple platforms now instead of just Zoom. We're now on Facebook Live. We're on YouTube and we're on Stream. On StreamYard. So we're taking a different approach, but the same concept. It's still the same study group. And so today is part 5: silent weapons for a quiet war. Um, and so there's a manual where we at the previous study groups we read over a manual titled "Silent Weapons for a Quiet War," and we looked at how the Rothschilds and others who support those operations are implementing silent weapons. The same goal of a gun, the same goal of a sword, the same goal of a bomb as pepper spray, same goal as a nuke, the same goal, as, a laser, the same goal as all these different things that we deem weapons, a bat, same goal as an axe. All of these have been compiled in silent weapons for a quiet war using media, using social engineering, using connotation of language, false conveyance of language, you know, using cartoons, using movies. Same goal as the gun, same goal as the knife, same goal as the sword. Nothing has changed, but it's the approach was adapted. And so we're going to look at one of the other weapons, which is education itself in the modern meaning. The modern meaning of education has been weaponized as a gun is, as a sword is, as a bomb is, as a nuke is, as COVID is, as the poisonous in the food is, as the recalls in the food is, as misrepresentation is, as distortion is, as dogmata is, you know. And so we're looking at this in the context of every other weapon that we know these weapons, but now we're looking at the weapons, the unseen weapons. And we learned the importance of the unseen world in agriculture. I won't get into that today. But those of you who grow fruits and vegetables, you understand the unseen. You don't have to see it for it to partake. You don't need to see it for it to happen. And so we're looking at the silent weapons for a quiet war. The sowing of the seeds, late 18th and 19th centuries. The sowing of the seeds, late 18th and 19th centuries, is the shortest chapter of the deliberate dumbing down of America. Undoubtedly, this chapter may be one of the most important, since the philosophies of Jean-Jacques Rousseau, William Wundt, and John Dewey and others reflect a total departure from the traditional definition of education, like the one given in the New Century Dictionary of the English language. The original meaning of education is not what they tell you your child is getting today when they go to school. They're not getting the original meaning of education. Let's look at that. The original meaning of education, so it's been weaponized. It's a silent weapon, whether you know it or not. All right. Whether you know a sniper finna shoot you, if since we only know guns, that's all we talk. If you out on the battlefield with your gun, you got your bulletproof vest on, you got your map, you got your compass, you got your steel toe boots, your blade, you got your 3-4 extra magazines, You got your bug out bag with your food and water. You got your ammunition case over here. You know, you got your rope, you got your walkie talkies. But if you don't have knowledge of how to survey and look for snipers, you'll be picked away as if you didn't have no guns, as if you didn't have no weapons, as if you wasn't equipped, as if you were useless. If you don't know how snipers operate, then you'll be a sitting duck. No matter if you got a gun, a pistol, they shoot you through the window. You won't even know that you're being aimed at. And so this is the knowledge. This is why it's important for us to see educate, because millions of our children are going to the schools. They're being set up to be sniped. They're being put in the gun range. They're being set out as a target. And they're just waiting. The sniper's just waiting. They're waiting for the best time. And so that's why we got to understand the importance of what's being presented. And so the original meaning is the drawing out of a person's innate talents and abilities by imparting the knowledge of language, scientific reasoning, history, literature, rhetoric, etc. The channels through which those abilities would flourish and serve. But a quantum leap was taken from the above definition to the new dehumanizing definition used by the experimental psychologists found in an outline of educational psychology, Barnes and Noble, New York, 1934, revised edition, by Randolph Printer and others. That truly revolutionary definition claims that, no, this is the new meaning that they projected and that's been weaponized. Learning is the result of modifiability and the paths of neuroconduction. Explanations of even such forms of learning as abstraction and generalization demand of the neurons only growth, excitability, conductivity, and modifiability. The mind is a connection system of man, and learning is the process of connecting. The situation response formula is adequate to cover learning of any sort, and the really influential factors in learning and readiness of the neuron sequence in time, belongingness, and satisfying the consequences. An in-depth understanding of the deplorable situation found in our nation's school today. Don't see it. Your school board doesn't see it. Your teachers doesn't see it. Your principal doesn't see it. The parents, they don't see the sniper because you're not equipped to see it. He has camouflage on. He's 2-3 miles away. He's hired, you don't have binoculars. And so the snipers they're positioning themselves. And so they're attacking. This is a generational attack. This particular sniper is a generational sniper where he attacks you generation after generation. And that's called education. Mr. Rothschild's energy discovery. Mr. Rothschild had discovered was the basic principle of power, influence, and control over people as applied to economics. That principle is when you assume the appearance of power, people soon give it to you. Mr. Rothschild had discovered that currency or deposit loan accounts had the required appearance of power that could be used to induce people, inducence with people corresponding to a magnetic field into surrendering their real wealth, your birthrights, in exchange for a promise of greater wealth instead of real compensation. They would put up real collateral in exchange for a loan of promissory notes. Mr. Rothschild found that he would issue more notes than he had the backing for, so long as he had someone's stock of gold as a persuader to show his customers. Mr. Rothschild learned that his promissory notes to individuals and governments, these would create overconfidence. Then he would make money scarce, tighten control of the system, and collect the collateral through the obligation of contracts. The cycle was then repeated. These pressures could be used to ignite a war. Then he would control the availability of currency to determine who would win the war. That government, which agreed to give him control of his economic system, got his support. Collection of debts was guaranteed by economic aid to the enemy of the debtor. The profit derived from this economic mythology made Mr. Rothschild all the more able to explain his wealth. He found the public greed would allow currency to be printed by. And so we're looking at this manual, and we're looking at the manual in context of our political extinction. We're looking at the silent weapons or maintenance tools, you know, to maintain our state of 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 willingness to be controlled, to be protected by foreigners, etc. The means of surviving the reaction is by changing the system before the reaction can be returned. So before we're able to react to what's going on, they're already changing it. So by the time we react to it, what? They're already working on something else. And so the Negro, black, and colored thing keeps us our mind blocked. So we can't deal with the issue. It is a silent weapon for a quiet war. And so before we're able to react, we still pushing, reparations. We still, without pushing nationality, without pushing our birthrights, we're pushing other things. And so before we're able to react, they'll be changing it, And so by this means, politicians become more popular in their own time, and the public pays later. In fact, the measure of such a politician is the delay of time. The same thing is achieved by a government by printing money beyond the limit of the gross national product, an economic process called inflation. This puts a larger quantity of money into the hands of the public and maintains a balance against their greed, creates a false self-confidence in them, and for a while stays the wolf from the door. And so without knowledge of our ancestral state, we become easier prone of the material realm. We don't have knowledge of our illustrious estate. We don't have knowledge of our rights, our festivals, ceremonies, traditions, you know. And so through that, we've been materialized. We're being controlled by what's being offered because there's been a void in us. There's been there's been a place of voidness. And so we try to fulfill that through what? Lust. We try to fulfill that through what? Material gain, through perception, how the world see us. We're caught on all that. We care more about how people view us rather than our actual situation and what we're trying to execute on. We care more about how people view us over dealing with the actual issue because that's a void of our culture. It's a void of our heritage, our rights, ceremonies, traditions, you know. And so through this void, the greed is a manifestation of some of the weapons that's being presented. So when you shoot somebody, they get wounded, and now you manifest an injured person who no longer can serve in the military because he's injured. He's useless. He can't defend. His arm is blown off or shot. And so the same thing with the Negro, black, and color in our greed. When we don't have knowledge of our national principles in relation to the rest of the world, we become useless. We become ineffective. We can't help the military. We don't have an arm. We don't have proper concepts. So what? We just push for greed and momentarily gain. And so they understand this. The Rothschilds. This puts a large quantity of money into the hands of the public and maintains a balance against their greed, creates a false confidence in them, and for a while stays the wolf from the door. They must eventually resort to war to balance the account because war ultimately is merely the act of destroying the creditor. and the politicians are the publicly hired hitmen that justify the act to keep the responsibility and blood off the public consciousness. If the people really cared about their fellow man, they would control their appetites, their greed, so that they would not have to operate on a credit or welfare social system, which steals from the worker to satisfy the bum. Since most of the general public will not exercise restraint, there are only two alternatives to reduce the economic inducements of the system. Let the populace bulging each other to death into war, which will only result in total destruction of the living earth, or two, take control of the world by use of economic silent weapons in a form of a quiet war, and reduce the economic inducements of the world to a safe level by a process of benevolent slavery and genocide. Economic shock testing. You see a lot of this going on now. You see economic shock testing with the COVIDs. You see it with all the different vaccines, and it's a shock test. Let's read what a shock test is. In recent times, the application of operation research to, to the study of the public economy has been obvious for anyone who understands the principle of shock testing. In the shock testing of an aircraft airframe, the recoil impulse of firing a gun mounted that airframe causes shock waves in that structure, which tell aviation engineers the conditions under which some parts of the airplane or the whole airplane or its wings will start to vibrate or flutter like a guitar string or a flute, a reed, or a turning fork, and disintegrate or fall apart in flight. Economic engineers achieve the same result in studying the behavior of the economy. And the consumer public be carefully selecting a staple commodity such as beef, coffee, gasoline, or sugar, and then causing a sudden change, just like the recall with McDonald's hamburgers. As there's sudden change. Now folks getting E. coli because they eat McDonald's hamburgers. So now there's an economic shock. Either you're gonna keep buying them or you're not. But they already working on the next strategy. It ain't like this is just it came about randomly. It's deliberately done. I'm just using this as an example of economic shock on the basic level. It's all around us. That's to test us and see where we are and how we respond, not just physically but economically to situations. Um, and so by carefully selecting a staple commodity such as beef, coffee, gasoline, or sugar, and then causing a sudden change or shock in its price or availability. You can't eat something that got E. coli in it. So the availability is what? It's changed. That throws off people who all into that. And so that's a test to see how we operate. How do we modify our spending habits? Do we just go to Burger King? Do we just go to the next hamburger joint? Or do we say, wait a minute, what's this all about? You know, and so they measuring that. That's how they measure. You're being measured. They then observe the shock waves, which result by monitoring the changes in advertising, prices, and sales of the other commodities. The objective of such studies is to acquire the know-how to set the public economy into a predictable state of motion or change, even a controlled, self-destructive state of motion, which will convince the public that certain expert people should take control of the money system and reestablish security rather than liberty and justice for all. When the subject citizens are rendered unable to control their financial affairs, they, of course, become totally enslaved, a source of cheap labor. Not only the prices of commodities, but also the availability of labor can be used as the means of shock testing. Labor strikes deliver excellent test shocks to an economy, especially in the critical service areas of trucking, transportation, communication, public utilities, energy, water collection, etc. And so we're bringing to the forefront that us not having a nationality organized and being presented at international law, we're subject to all these later abuses. The answer is our nationality and the execution of it through political legitimacy. And so we're going to go into the Q&A recap of our various study group sessions. This is part 5. We're going to go over um, the recap through the Q&A process. So you all put your answers in the YouTube comments if you've been on the other study groups, or even if you have not been on. Take a shot at it. Take a shot at it and see what you say, and then we'll give you the answer to the various questions. Um, this is our first time doing it this way, so we hope for active participation. Usually we're on Zoom and we're able to just have verbal dialogue, but through that we're not able to do it. I don't know if Brother Akano can post the StreamYard link, and if anybody wants to come on to help do the Q&A, you can, you can help go through this so you're able to see if you learned or gained anything from the previous study group sessions. And so I give Brother Kano time to post the StreamYard link if others wants to get on to answer some of the Q&A. And if not, just answer in the chat. Be sure to put your comment in the chat of the questions that you see here on the stream.
I think it's just us now, my brother.
Okay, okay.
If
For
it's correct.
just in general.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll go through it. And we'll build from there. It's our first time on it. We gotta give people time to get used to the adjustment. Um, and so what is a state according to the Montevideo Convention on Rights and Duties of States, December 26, 1933? Is it also displaying on Facebook Live? Or is it
I thought it was, but it's not showing me live on my Facebook, but we are on YouTube.
okay. All right. And so we know people gonna watch it later, and so I'm gonna give you time to answer that. Then I give you the answer. Give you 30 seconds. The answer, you are correct. The answer is D. The state, as a person of international law, should possess the following qualifications: a permanent population; B, a defined territory; C, government; and D, the capacity to enter into relations with other states. Go to the next question. What is the Montevideo Convention? Is it A, constitution, or is it B, the Montevideo Convention agreement signed at Montevideo, Uruguay on December 26, 1933, and entering into force the following year? That established the standard definition of a state under international law. You are correct. The answer is B. A constitution is an agreement amongst a state, whereby the Montevideo Convention is various different states signing on and agreeing to something. And this is just a map of the Montevideo where it's located. So the Montevideo is a location, and so it's in South America, by Brazil, Chile, as you see here on the map. So that's where the signing took place. What is a hosting state and a sending state? Now, we went over this in the previous study group session. We talked about a hosting state and a sending state. And so that's going to be important to understand contracts and how things are working. And so take a shot. I give you 30 seconds to answer to yourself, what is a hosting state and a sending state? 30 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 0. 30 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 0. 30 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 0. 30 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 0. 30 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 0. 30 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 0. 30 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 0. 30 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 0. 30 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 0. 30 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6 and what is ascending state? And so we're taking the definition from the Vienna Convention on the representation of states and their relation with international organizations of a universal character of 1975. A host state means the state in whose territory A, the organization has its seat or an office, or B, a meeting of an organ or a conference is held. And so you in treaties, you have the hosting state, the organization that has its seat or office, its political dominions. You know, where is this office? Its capital, etc. So that's the hosting state. So in the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between the United States and Morocco, somebody has to be the hosting state. And once we understand that, we begin to comprehend. Okay, damn. That means we know that the United States had just declared its independence in 1776. You know, and so it could not have been the hosting state, and so it was the sending state. And the sending state means the state which sends a mission to the organization at its seats or to an office of the organization, or B, a delegation to an organ or a delegation to a conference, or C, an observer delegation to an organ or an observer delegation to a conference. All righty. Next question we got here. Is there such thing as capitulation, extraterritoriality clauses in regard to jurisdiction within the treaties? Is there a such thing as capitulation, extraterritoriality clauses in regard to jurisdiction within the treaties? I give you 30 seconds to answer. If you're just getting on and you're on live, put your comment in the chat to test yourself to see what you're gaining out of the study groups. And so the answer is B. Yes. Did capitulation later become known as extraterritoriality, consular jurisdiction? Give you 15 more seconds. Remember, everything we're going over was already went over in the previous study groups, so I'm not going into detail in the answer. Go back to helping our people elevate YouTube channel where you're able to watch the previous study groups, and then you can quiz yourself by going to the Q&A section of this presentation. And so the answer is yes, B. What is extraterritoriality fiction? And so you answer to yourself, give your best answer, to yourself. You can put it in the chat, you can say it out loud to yourself. But what is extraterritoriality, consular jurisdiction? The terms extraterritoriality and extraterritorial jurisdiction refer to the competence of a state to make, apply, and enforce rules of conduct in respect of persons, property, or events beyond its territory. Such competence may be exercised by way of prescription, adjudication, or enforcement. Name a few treaties that have extraterritoriality, consular jurisdiction clauses. We went over a list of different treaties that had extraterritoriality, consular jurisdictional clauses in it, and so we'll go over those few that I have here. Um, and so this is coming from Cornell Law Library, consular courts, and so a few of the treaties that have consular extraterritoriality jurisdiction clauses in it is the treaty between Morocco and the United States, 1787, superseded by 1836, Article 21. And a treaty between the United States and China, 1844, Article 21. It has an extraterritoriality consular jurisdictional clause in that treaty as well. The treaty between the United States and Japan, 1857, also has a consular extraterritoriality consular jurisdictional clause in it as well. You can find all of this by going to Google Cornell Law Library consular courts. That's all you have to do. It'll pull up and you scroll down and you'll see various different Siam, you'll see various different other um, nation states have capitulation clauses with the United States. In the Silent Weapons for a Quiet War manual, we notice that social engineering of language is being used to subdue the masses into capitulation, the war meaning of capitulation. In the Silent Weapons for a Quiet War manual, we notice that social engineering of language is being used to subdue the masses into capitulation. And the answer is true. We went over that in great detail, part 1 through part 4. Be sure to go back to helping our people elevate and watch the Silent Weapons for a Quiet War previous study groups. These answers are clearly given to you. In the Silent Weapons for a Quiet War manual, we notice that currency is really the maintenance and control of energy. This energy is regulated by social control and is designed to do the same thing a gun or bomb would do. In the Silent Weapons for a Quiet War manual, we notice that currency is really the maintenance and control of energy. This energy is regulated by social control and is designed to do the same thing a gun or bomb would do. And that is true. We learned that in the previous study groups. And so, what are human rights violations? We want to be able to show the human rights violations as we gain our confidence and unity to express ourselves through our right of self-determination in the international community. We want to be able to show, you know, through the Vienna Conventions, the Geneva Conventions, the Montevideo Conventions, the Human Rights Declaration for the Rights of the Child. We want to be able to show through documents that's been signed and agreed on our violations. So we want to compile and build our strategy. When we go to the Human Rights Summit, we need to be sound in how we're being violated, and so we're taking our time with this. We're not in a hurry. And so what are human rights violations? We're going to read the definition and types of human rights violations. A state commits human rights violations either directly or indirectly. Violations can either be intentionally performed by the state and or come as a result of the state failing to prevent the violation. When a state engages in human rights violations, various actors can be involved, such as police, judges, prosecutors, government officials, and more. The violation can be physically violent in nature, such as a police brutality, while rights such as the right to a fair trial can be violated, where no physical violence is involved. See? Now see? Physical violence is not the only weapon. We're content. We get content with where we are. We post on Facebook and Instagram, and we already did it already. We got to be able to come together and deal with the real issue. There is but one. It has not been dealt with. It doesn't have to be physical violence. The forms that we fill out, it doesn't have your nationality nationality even on the form. You're not, you can't, there's nothing set in place for you to be recognized as a human. So these violations are already in place through bureaucratic operations. It's already made already. The operation is the fraud. They don't need to do anything else. The second type of violation, failure by the state to protect, occurs when there's a conflict between individuals or groups within a society. If the state does nothing to intervene and protect vulnerable people and groups, it's participating in the violations. They ain't gotta know. They supposed to know human rights. So through non-action, people are a part. Through not acting, through acquiescence. Acquiescence is an act. Even though you're not actually acting, but acquiescence is an act. Through you not acting, you're giving way to what's going on, and so you two are apart. You should have known. If you did not know, you should have known. If the state does nothing to intervene and protect vulnerable people and groups, it's participating in the violations. In the United States, the state failed to protect Black Americans when lynching frequently occurred around the country, since many of those responsible for the lynchings were also state actors, like police. This is an example of both types of violations occurring at the same time. Now they just didn't type that them calling you Black is a violation, because in the national campaign that we're pushing, the Declaration on the Rights of the Child, Principle 3, it says it plain as day. Every child shall be entitled from his or her birth to a name and nationality. Black is not that. Negro is not that. African American is not that. Colored man is not that. Indian is not that. New African nation is not that. An American national is not that. And so, through lack of action, our human rights are being violated. And so we're bringing that to the forefront. They already noticed that there's different types of violations. They said that clear as day right here. We're not arguing that if that was a violation or not. We're saying that Negro, all those labels and terms, those are violations, political violations that strips of people of their birthright, of their right of protection, through their culture, their right of protection of agriculture, education, the original meaning, not the connotative meaning that's been manipulated, what the people get today. But we're being stripped of our just rights to protect the basic stuff: education, food, defense of our women, children, kidnapping, etc. And so I just want to make sure we're crystal clear that the label Black violates Principle 3 of the Declaration of the Rights of the Child. That is a human rights violation. All violations are not physical. We read it here. It didn't come from me. Economic and social and cultural rights. See why the importance of the Easter event? Because they're taking what's in you, but giving it a connotative meaning. So they're manipulating your reality by false conveyance of words. They're limiting who you can be through false conveyance of words, social engineering, cultural suppressing. And with no nationality, we're not able to economically position ourselves. We can't even control export and import because we're stateless. That's a violation. We can't be economically strong. As described in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Economic, social, and cultural rights include the right to work, the right to so you don't it don't say you got to be a United States citizen to work. Just as being a near human, you have the right to work, the right to education, the right to physical and mental health. Our mental health is not there. Our history, cultures, and rights, ceremonies have been stripped. How can we mentally be okay? As is the case with all human rights, economic, social, and cultural rights can be violated by states and other actors. The United Nations Office of High Commissioner of Human Rights gives a handful of examples of how these rights can be violated. They include contamination of water. What happened in Flint? What's happening now? Who's even testing the water now? How do we know? I mean, like we waiting on, so that's that the energy control where they change the concept before we able to react. And so they got us all over the place. We need to center down on nationality, political legitimacy. It encompasses what I'm finna say here. Nationality encompasses all what I'm finna read here. Contamination of water, for example, with waste from state-owned facilities, the right to health. Nationality covers that. Evicting people by force from their homes, the right to adequate housing. Nationality covers that. So if you don't have nationality, you're not addressing any of this. Now you can address it in a colorable fashion, meaning, because when the people go to apply and to have this home, they have to fill out applications. And so through them filling out the application, they're being stripped of their right to adequate housing because there's no protection to safeguard measures after they get the house. It can be taken by various different colorable means to take the home. And so denying services and information about health, the hospital do it every day. When you go to the hospital and they take that oath, the Hippocratic oath, as if that's all health is about, is what they're saying in the hospitals. That's stripping you of your right to. That's not what's all. The baby laying down on the table, horizontally, going against gravity, the lights shining in her face. What are they doing with the placenta? Why is the hospital keeping the placenta? And the health facts and benefits about the placenta, the stem cell development of the placenta. And so they don't need to do anything else. It's an operation. It's silent weapons for a quiet war. We don't care enough about it because we can't see it. We don't know that we're under attack. Why are they keeping the placenta? Why are they cutting the umbilical cord? Where are they going with the baby after they have the baby? Where are they taking the baby to? Discriminating at work based on traits like race, gender, and sexual orientation. Failing to provide maternity leave. Not paying a sufficient minimum wage. Segregating students based on disability. Forbidding the use of minority indigenous languages. So in the treaties, we see Arabic. We don't see any institutions teaching Arabic or any of our native tongues. So you already been you already violated already. You don't have to do nothing else but sit right here today and listen. You don't play the game, whatever you're gonna do. Wake up, go fix the sandwich, go play basketball, be an MVP, triple double. You're still being violated every day, and you don't even know it, and don't know enough to be concerned about it. And so that's what the study groups are about. We're focused on all the other stuff, all the distractions, but we not bringing nationality to the forefront in the perspective of protecting the things I just mentioned. It's like if you got a fruit tree and you trying to repair the tree without making sure the roots are healthy. Yeah, you can trim off the bad leaves. That's called pruning. We know that. But what about the root development? The phosphorus. Is it lacking phosphorus? for the roots to develop. And so our knowledge of our ancestral political diplomatic relations, that's our root development. That's our phosphorus. We're lacking phosphorus. We keep dealing with all the stuff that come off of the tree, that come off of the branch, the bush. We just pruning. We just cutting the bad limbs. But the roots is what we need to look at. What are the roots? Your nationality. Who is ultimately responsible for ensuring human rights violations don't happen? I'm just gonna say the state. The state is, but you don't have one. The people classified as Negro, Black, and colored, you know, African American, etc., they don't have a state. So there are no states to protect you from human rights violation. That's why we're bringing our voice to the international community, to our reversion to sovereignty, our temporary government to facilitate the will of the people. We don't have it's that we have there is no state to protect our rights. That we have none. We everything is not a state. We looked at what a state is early in the presentation. So just because one has a YouTube channel, or a Facebook page or a website, or a nationality card or a tag they on the back of their car, or you know paperwork that they send to people that got a bunch of logos and seals on it, a bunch of information, case laws, Supreme Court rulings. It's not a state. Meet every Sunday, every Friday, say the speech at the beginning of the meetings. It's not a state. So the state is responsible. We don't have one. So we can't address it. But what we're doing, the process that we're ongoing is the process to address it. Annexation, a formal act whereby a state proclaims its over territory hitherto outside its dominion, all right? Outside of its dominion, whereby capitulation, extraterritoriality, and consular jurisdiction is what a hosting state allows for the sending state to be immune from certain criminal and civil issues within the sovereignty or jurisdictional boundaries of the hosting state. It's an agreement, whereby annexation is not an agreement. Annexation is a formal act whereby a state proclaims its sovereignty over territory hitherto outside its dominions, whereby territory is given or sold through treaty. Annexation is a unilateral, it's a one-sided agreement. It's a unilateral act made effective by the actual possession and legitimized by general recognition. So by setting up operation as if it's yours, military, or not. But the act of pushing the natives away from a territory and operating on it through government as if there's been a cession treaty or as there's been cession, then you're operating through annexation. And that is also a violation of human rights. So we know that the United States expanded by annexation as well as the Louisiana Purchase and other things, but also by annexation. They expanded their territorial jurisdiction. And so that's two, and France, etc. through conquest. So through conquest, there was a form of annexation. Annexation is a flagrant violation of international law, says UN human rights expert. The Geneva recent statements by senior Israeli political leaders and U.S. diplomats in support of the annexation of parts of all in support of the annexation of parts or all of the occupied West Bank by Israel fly in the face of the absolute prohibition against the annexation of occupied territories, a UN human rights expert said today. International law is very clear. Annexation and territorial conquest are forbidden by the Charter of the United Nations, said Michael Lynn of the UN Special Reporter on the situation of human rights in the Palestine territory occupied since 1967. The Security Council, beginning with Resolution 242 in November 1969, has expressly affirmed the inadmissibility of the acquisition of territory by war or force on 8 occasions, most recently. So you can't acquire land by the act of war, and if you do, it's the rights of the sovereign of the land to exercise self-determination and right to post-millennium and reversion to sovereignty back to their old and original status. So this is our international terms, war terms, some, and international terms. So again, before we depart, please take your chance. Get 60 notes, $60, and purchase a shirt. Support the national campaign for the Declaration on the Rights of the Child so that we may project to the world that we are entitled to a name and nationality by self-determination. Black, Negro, color, etc. are not nationalities. Through those channels of denationalization, we're being stripped of education, rights to health, you know, rights of medication, rights of good quality food, etc. So your $60 shirt supports the campaign. It allows us to show unity. It allows us to bring more awareness to the issue, as this is a long journey. This is an agricultural journey. You don't plant a garden today to reap tomorrow. And I'm going to end with that. You don't plant a garden today to reap tomorrow. Purchase a shirt and support the national campaign. I want to bring Brother Kono on just to briefly tell you all about the next study group that he'll be having on Thursday. And you all can join on. We'll be live and direct on him type of mindset, one seed at a time type of mindset. We understand agriculture, we understand gardening, and we're pushing forward through how nature pushes forward. We just deal with it one mind at a time. This platform is so we can have thousands on, but your mind will develop one mind at a time. We want you to be a part. We want you to purchase a shirt. We want you to be able to come on and do your own presentations. We want you to be available. We want you to have time. We want you to execute on post-millennium, our rights, and reversion to sovereignty. Brother Kono, you want to tell us about the study group that's coming up?
Yeah, I'll be doing the. Let me pull it up on the screen. All right, so I'm working on my Fathers of the Modern Race
Can't
Paradigm.
hear you at this time.
Oh, I'm muted. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me
And I
now?
can hear you now. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, so I'm gonna be going over my theories of race, part one. If they've been those who've been following, I've been going over the Fathers of the Modern Race Paradigm. And so I'm gonna be going over the theories of race, part one, from 1684 to 1789, starting from Francis Bernier all the way to Kant. And we're going to be dealing with those who follow the Bernier ideology and with this race concept. And so that's what I'm going to be working on presenting tomorrow. And I have part two coming as well. But I found 50 authors who, after Francis Bernier's New Division of the Earth, 1684, followed suit with this race and color concept. What color is he? What color is she? And so I'm going to be diving into Europeans and how they studied the melanated beings and gave us the concept of black. As Brother Quasi said, we are not black. So what is your nationality?
Well, I'm ready. That's a beautiful presentation. That's going to clear up a lot of the misconceptions. So you all share the link. Um, like I say, we one mind at a time. We're going to keep pushing this. We're going to be live every second and fourth Wednesday, every second and fourth Thursday. If we're not, we're working on the next presentation. If you don't see us on, we're going to be more active. We may come on and do summaries over some of the other stuff we've been talking about. We would make it short and quick to redirect you to the study group. So we'll be doing more. You'll see us merging some of our study groups, or me and Brother Connell's presentations together, just to kind of correlate the timeline of different things that was going on, and just so we can get more clarity on how the enemy was positioning themselves to gain the position they're in today. Because remember, they didn't do it overnight. It took time. It took generations after generations, and so they're real serious. They're focused, and so are we. And so if Brother O'Connell doesn't have anything else.
I just want to add on what you're saying that I mean this is 339 years of dehumanizing and denationalizing the people, social engineering, conquest, and colonization. 339 years of what color is he? What color is she? Present date, 911 dispatch, what's your emergency? Oh, there's a male, there's a female. What color is he? Where did this concept come from? So we're going to be diving into that more. So that's all I have for today. I appreciate y'all. This is our first live, but we're going to be getting better. We're going to be getting more into this. So be patient with us. We appreciate y'all. That's all I got to say, Brother Quasi. Show floor.
Peace, you all.
Peace, everyone.
Catch y'all next time.